Oh, no, thank you very much for stopping by. I heard that you were in town, so I said, yeah, this man needs to stop by.
Well, no, I was honored to have you invite me. I mean, you know,
you were in town for a horrible reason. I can't believe you dragged your son to that thing. Oh my God!
What, to Oasis?
To the Oasis concert?
Oh no! It was an incredible concert, and I mean,
Rose Bowl. How much was parking?
We use Uber. We didn't
good.
Park.
Smart man.
Yeah. Well, we'd still be there now.
Me and Carlos went to a soccer game over there, and the ticket was like $13, and the parking was $60.
Right.
Jesus Christ!
Yeah, mind you, it cost us $250 to get an Uber out of there.
Yeah,
Four of us at like midnight or whatever.
Jesus.
So, but
anyway,
no, if we'd have parked, we would have been waiting for
Oasis
hours.
fan. And you're talking about the tracks that you have back in England. Can you tell me more? How did you start doing this?
How did I start with Slotcars?
Yeah.
Well, I started with Slotcars as a kid because in England back in the day,
Christmas gift.
Yeah. Well, every little boy wanted to be Jim Clark or Graham Hill, or they wanted to be a Spitfire pilot. You know, those are the things that we saw in our culture. You know, I was born 9 years after the war ended. That shadow of that, it was exotic, exciting to be a race car driver or fly a plane. Mm-hmm. But anyway, so as about a 5-year-old, I got...
What part of England?
I was born in London.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I'm a South London boy, although I follow a North London team.
My favorite city.
Yeah, it's mine too. I mean, when I walk on the streets of London, I get goosebumps. I love that city, but I've had a better life here, so I'm not complaining.
Yeah.
But anyway, so 5 years old, we'd moved south to near Brighton, a dormitory town. You know, so lots of dads jumping on the train to go to work and then coming home, lots of kids, and we'd watch on TV, and they'd have a TV show called Grandstand, and it was horse racing, motorcycle racing, car racing every Saturday, and there'd be races from Brands Hatch, non-Grand Prix races, but still Formula One cars and Formula 5000 cars, and so as a kid you saw it. And then I had an uncle that was into motorbikes, and he was my mum's older brother, and I always looked up to him, and he'd take me out on his motorbikes, and so that got me interested in motorcycles as well as cars. And he'd take me to Crystal Palace, which was a Formula One track, a little one, and they'd have motorcycle racing and cars on the same day at different times. So I wanted to be that, and I wanted to be a race car driver. And then when I left high school, I found out how expensive it was going to be just to buy an even beat up old Mini. It shocked me. I think my first wages were like £4 a week, you know. And you could have a good night out at the pub 4 nights because it was 20p for a pint. So you had 5 pints for a pound. So 5 fours, 4 nights you can go out. But to buy a car, and so I ended up buying a motorcycle because they were much more affordable. And then I got into motorcycle racing because I kept getting speeding tickets and lost my license a couple of times. And a friend of mine said to me, you're good. Why don't you go race rather than do it on the street where they're just going to give you a coffin? And so I went racing, and that kind of got me hooked on the thrill of motorsports. I'd always loved Formula One, and I'd love to race something like that. But the motorcycle was attainable, and I could even afford back then to buy a Grand Prix bike, a 5-year-old one, but it was still a Grand Prix bike. Nowadays, you can't even lease them. I mean, so that started me on my trip, and I raced motorcycles in England, and then I moved over to California, and I raced here.
When was that?
I moved over to California in 1982.
Okay.
And then I met a young lady who's still my wife, and I raced out of Southern California. I had my own motorcycle shop up in Manchester here. We raced endurance racing for the Suzuki Cup and raced sprint races with AFM and ARRA. And at the peak of it, I held the number 7 plate in Southern California for the club. And my race team, which was called BCal, B for British and Cal, California, BCal Racing, we won the 1988 Weir West Coast Championship overall on a 600 Katana, which is absurd.
You were driving?
I was one of the riders. It was my bike, my team, one of the riders, yeah. But the teams we were competing against, the biggest one was Team Suzuki. At that time, we were called Team Hammer. But Wera had a series that was national, and they had another one because of the distance for the West Coast only. So we chose to race in the West Coast only because we couldn't drive all over the country. And Team Hammer, the big race for us was Willow Springs, a 24-hour. A lot of miles, and every mile gives you a point. They chose to go do College Station, which was a Texas 24-hour on the same weekend. So because of that, we got a lot of points that they didn't get. And then we went to the final in Atlanta, and the people from Wera are like, what are you guys doing at the banquet? I'm like, well, we're coming. They said, no, you got to come. I'm like, okay. They didn't say any more. And then when they started announcing all the awards, they got to 600 production, which is what we were running, and we were champions. And then they carried on through all the other classes, and then it got to overall. Because of the miles we'd done at Willow, they got our overall champions, BCAL, and a 600 production bike, beating Team Hammer, because they hadn't done that race. But it was comical. But anyway, and then the last year I raced out here was 89, and we raced for Long Beach Yamaha, and I did tyre testing for Dunlop and worked with Dynajet on jetting.
We have a client, Carlos Penici. He has the original Ford van for Long Beach Yamaha.
Oh, yeah?
He comes with it sometimes.
Cool.
Yeah, it's a cool van.
Yeah.
Blue and white. Yeah.
Yeah, they were good people.
Yeah.
No, so I had a great time in California. And the only reason I left, and I'm now in Washington State, my wife wanted to get a law degree, and she applied all over. She was a UCLA major, and she got accepted at Tacoma, university to do a law degree. And she was originally born in Tacoma, so it was going home for her. And for me, it was going to a place where it was more like England, 4 seasons. I had a great time in Southern California, but I didn't want to grow old in California. And anyway, so we moved up there, and this all goes to where I ended up with ScaleRacing motorcycles, etc. I'm an adrenaline junkie, and when I stopped racing, I didn't know what to do. I mean, I started playing soccer again, which I still play now. I love that game as well.
Fan of who?
Me, Tottenham Hotspur.
Okay, good.
Yeah, so if there's any Arsenal fans ever watch this, you're probably going to be throwing rocks at your screen. But anyway, no, it's a passion, well, from your country as well, a passion that is grown here. But certainly when I first asked to find a game in Southern California in '82, I walked up to somebody, I said, can you tell me where I get a game of football? And they're like, you're not big enough to play football. I'm like,
no, it's the one.
What do you mean?
Football.
Football, yeah, not handball. No, I shouldn't know. I mean, not American football. Football, soccer. And I was surprised how little the sport was, and it's grown here, which is tremendous. But so back to the...
I tried to find a group the first time I came here, 2007. And I ended up with the Mexicans, and they beat the shit out of me, and I just gave up on soccer, on football, whatever it was. Yeah. No, I had pick-up games on the beach with the Mexican guys. Yeah. It's fast.
It's fun. They're passionate. Yeah. And playing on sand was interesting. Yeah. But I play on field turf now. But that keeps me hopefully young and fit. But then going back to the racing, I went back to the FA Cup final in 1991 to see my team play. And while I was there, I thought, because I just stopped racing. I stopped racing in 90, and I really wasn't doing good. I needed something other than soccer. But
you moved your racing activities to Tacoma too?
Well, yes, I did. But originally, while I was still in Southern California, I went up in my parents' attic, and like a lot of sets end up there was all my ScaleRacing stuff. So I boxed it all up and bought a big trunk and shipped it back to America and set it up. Yeah, and by this time, I was in Tacoma, and I set it up in my front room because we didn't have kids. We had a cat, which liked chasing the cars. But anyway, I set them up, and I'm playing with it, and I have friends come over, soccer friends. See, I said soccer. Soccer friends, football. And they're like, wow. And I'm like, what? They're like, well, where'd you get this? I'm like, you go to Toys R Us, or, you just go to a toy shop. They're like, not in this country, you don't. And
really?
I'm like,
was that hard to get back in the 90s?
Oh, it was invisible. Well, I can tell. I don't know how long we want to go. I can tell more about that. But anyway, so I said, well, you just go into a toy shop. Then I found out you couldn't, and so I approached Irwin Toys, who were doing Scalextric and failing miserably, and I started buying, and then started up a small distribution business under the name of Day at the Races, which I bought the name and a business as a catalogue business from a gentleman by the name of Malcolm Warby, who lived in New Mexico, another Brit, and he'd been buying Scalextric from a shop in England. So anyway, but once I started doing it, I realised this has a lot of potential, but it has to be done properly, So I approached Scalextric and I approached Ninco, and that started A Day at the Races, which then became Scalextric USA.
Yeah, we still have some cars for sale here with the Scalextric USA logo on it.
Yeah, which I think they were foolish to drop that. Going to Hornby Hobbies, it doesn't mean anything here.
Here, no. Yeah.
I mean, I know it's their brand. I know it's the parent company. But even, for trains, it makes something. But trains are so small in America for English trains.
Yeah.
But the Scalextric USA brand meant more than Hornby.
And that was back in 1991, 92?
Well, no, it grew, A Day at the Races grew to where about 1987. And I was just doing it as a part-time business. 85, my daughter was born. And I was going to stay home and be a house husband, and my wife would go and be the money winner, the lawyer. And it just took off because I found a guy who was doing outside sales, one in California and another one in Washington, started selling MRRC, Ninco and Scalextric. And then Fly came out with the Viper, and a friend of mine in Germany sent me a picture of one, said, you have to get this car. And I did, and sales took off with that.
But I'm trying to place myself in the year. Which year was that?
That would have been 97.
97.
Yeah, and that was the start of where it became a business and not just something I did.
So you kind of started when those guys in Italy, NSR and Slotted, they kind of start to develop a more professional slot car.
Yeah.
So you were here when that was kind of established, and that was the kind of a start of the 132nd slot car racing that we have today.
Right. Well, I mean, what happened in Europe was with SCX moving to China, Ninco were birthed out of that. It was Mr. Nins and Mr. Koskalula, so Ninco. They were both heavily involved in SCX in the tooling and engineering side, so they were out of a job. So they started first. Start looking for sales, more boutique, more about racing and less about just the toy. But obviously you need a track system to run it on, and in Spain that would be SCX Scalextric, Technitoys. Not exactly Scalextric, but slightly, which is another very complicated story.
Yeah,
but
we can talk about that. Well, as far as I know,
no. Go on. Yeah.
Well, let me give my version.
I'll tell you what I know.
Because I've been with the family. So as far as I know, the family started, and at some point they sold it to Technitroys, which was also another name that they used to. And at some point now, in the present, like in the near past, they got it again. They acquired it again. It's the same family that it was originally owned.
Right.
Yeah. But we have like this big window where Technitroys kind of develop it, and they sold the brand to other places, and they closed down, and they keep it open. And well, since the family came back and they're running the business
I'm trying to remember the family name, but originally what happened, from what I was told with Scalextric when I was working with them and then sold my company to them, which is another story. But originally there was a gentleman's agreement back when that meant something, where a handshake under Franco, Spain, you couldn't sell a product in Spain unless it was at least 50% Spanish owned, which is why you saw Datsuns being sold with Alfa Romeo, Spain and Italy as well, Alfa Romeo badging or Seat badging.
And they'd have to buy and change the name to SCX.
So they could sell products made in China and made in England. So Scalextric England, or at that time it was Triang, I believe.
Triang before.
Yeah, it may maybe even been mini models. Mini models begat Triangs.
Before, yes.
Yeah. So they had
the name of the family is Arnau. The family.
Arnau family. That's right. Yeah, I knew it, but I couldn't remember it.
Luis Maria Arnau.
Yeah. Anyway, so the approach was made. because they wanted to make model car racing in Spain. But they didn't have the resources or the tooling, but they had some engineering expertise in making model cars. Triang was looking to get more exposure. They already had Triang in France under the Lego brand, I believe. Not Lego, Meccano brand. So you had that division. They actually even had a little division, I think, in Russia at one time, making ScaleRacing cars. Yeah. But the deal with the Arnau family was that they would give them tooling so as they could make sets that were 50% Spanish owned, and they would share cars. So you've got some ScaleRacing cars had the old RX motor, the train motor, which is the Spanish loved. In England, they'd gone over to the little Johnson can, or a bigger one, and then the little S can. And so you'll see ScaleRacing cars with a hole for the train motor. They were the ones that were made with tooling, with the adapters, They were made with tooling from Spain for the Spanish market and then sold also into England. And then you'd see other cars in Spain that were English tooling, which is why you'd see cars with decals for Europe, and they would have Tampo printing earlier on in Spain. The tooling evolved. They etched their tooling, made it a little bit more bumpy because they like doing rally as well. Yes. So you need a track that's bitey, which Polycar is and Ninko was, because they put cocoa powder on the track and it's amazing to see it.
It's snow.
I've done it. I've done snow as well. Yeah. No, I've done a couple of rallies and it blew me away. Yeah. They take it serious. But then
do you know who is extremely good at the rally that we've never believed who is? Like the guy is just like amazing. Who? Bernard Bazos.
Oh no! Well,
Bernard is just
but he's a trials bike rider. Guys that ride their motorcycle up the side of a car and then hop it and then turn around. He does that. Yeah. So you've got that eye for detail. So he's very good.
We had a rally track at the Forest Lot Madrid a couple of years ago, and it was me and Elliot from Hobby Classic. We were trying to beat ourselves, and somebody goes there and put the fastest time. And then Bernard came around, looked around, picked up the controller, and put a time it's like half a second faster than us. It's like, what the hell? It's great. It's the first lap. It was impressive. But anyway, sorry.
Yeah, no. I was doing an event in Spain, and it was road racing, but they had a big rally event with like about 30 different tracks. Yeah. And then they had this one big track, which, it started up in the hill, and it was snow. And then it would wind its way down into the pastures, and then it would slowly climb back up into the snow again. And we're like, oh, that's cool, we've got to try that. And you stand up on a plinth, and then you'd have a runner. Your mechanic was the runner to go put the car back on. And we kind of did some reasonable times. And we thought we were getting good. And anyway, this one guy comes out, and he says, what do you do? And I said, okay. So he puts this Volkswagen Beetle with a caravan. Towing a caravan, and completely destroyed our time. And then the next time around, it had this one ramp that went up, and there was a piece of Italian sausage hanging on a string. Okay. And I what's that there for? So anyway, he comes up there, and you fly off the track, and you have to hit the sausage. And he spent hundreds of hours making this thing beautiful, and then he flies it off the track. Like, you guys are crazy. But no, they're passionate about rally.
But you have a rally at your store,
we have a little rally track.
Do you have people enjoying it, or?
Yeah, we don't use it very much, but it is a lot of fun. It's a completely different technique. Yeah. I mean, I get people say, well, the car keeps dropping off the side of the track. I said, have you ever seen real rally? Yeah, in real rally, you'd be in pieces in a gully.
Then I killed the little lady that lives in the house.
Yeah, so it's completely different technique.
But I need to say again, Bernard was just...
Oh, no, he is incredible. Yeah. And apparently he's got a couple of young sons that are even better than him.
Yeah, Ivan has a couple of sons that they're very fast. Yeah. But Bernard on rally is just unbelievable. Yeah. But again, we were talking about the SCX. The short story that I had was that at some point, SCX Scalextric in Spain with the Arnau family wanted to do some cars. And the British didn't want them to have to produce cars under the Scalextric brand, because so far they were just importing. That's the story that I have. And then at some point they decide to do, and then they change the name. So they sell in English-spoken countries as SCX, and everybody else, every Spanish country like Mexico, Spain, whatever, they sell as ScaleRacing.
ScaleRacing, yeah. Well, what I heard was that I think it was Franco passed, so Spain became an open market, and with that deregulation, Exin, which was the brand they were selling under then, in the green boxes, Exin, Exim decided they wanted to expand their market outside of Spain. And so they started selling into England.
With the same brand,
and
the same name.
Well, it said Exim, but it was ScaleRacing, obviously.
No.
But it said Exim, and a competing distributor to ScaleRacing in England, who isn't a manufacturer but was a major distributor. They picked up the line to sell against ScaleRacing, and a price war erupted, and neither company did well out of it. And nor, in the end, nor did the customer.
This is the kind of story not even the family will know how to tell what's right. Because I interview Luis and Maria now in Barcelona, and there's not that. It's the third generation of that story, which
right.
is
Well, yeah. Well, so anyway, what happens then? It gets even worse. So with the deregulation, they tried to sell into England, and a price war erupted, and because nobody knew the Exim name in England, so then they started selling. Or then England found out, because they knew they were selling as ScaleRacing in Spain, and they didn't mind. Gentleman's agreement, this is good, it's good for everybody. But what they found out is that they'd registered the name in Spain. And Spanish law is not the same as English law. I should ask my wife before I say this. From what I understand, you could take a trade name that's under English law, which a lot of the world is, and you could register it in Spain, and there's nothing they can do about it. And this is why you've got Spain, Mexico, and for some reason Russia. But it was Spanish-speaking countries, Exim, registered the name ScaleRacing, or our now family did.
That makes more sense.
So they had that name, and ever since then there's been this battle to get the name
But
back.
they get along. They share molds nowadays.
Not now, no.
They do. The last Corvette. The CAR.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a shared mold with both ScaleRacing and SCX.
Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting. I didn't even know that.
I didn't know either. I was there and they showed me and saying, how do you get this? Oh, this is mine. How? And anyway.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's what we need, really. You need more cooperation. Yeah. It's a little hobby, work together. But attacking the home market was not the right way to do it.
Yeah. Especially on the after war.
Well, what happened after that was the Arnell family leased the brand name to Matchbox.
Yes.
For 10 years.
Yes, that's
true. About when I became involved, and I was buying Matchbox cars from a distributor in England, who for some reason had a connection with Exim, so we won't say that. No, I won't say the name. Anyway, but they brought out various cars. They brought a GT40 out, which was from our old tooling, and I got as many as I could. So then they bought the Chaparral.
I remember those.
And I bought 1,000 of those off the distributor in England. So if they thought they sold a lot of Chaparrals in England, they didn't. They sold them into me in America. And I still got some, but anyway, they weren't a car like Fly, because these were tooling from 20 years earlier than that. But interesting car. But no, then the Matchbox license expired. By this time, ScaleRacing had lost interest in Irwin Toys because they just weren't cutting it in America. And I went to Nuremberg Toy Fair, and I met with Ninko, and I met with Fly, and then I decided, well, I'll go see ScaleRacing. And I went over to England to see ScaleRacing, to plead with them to give Irwin Toys another chance, because I knew they'd cut them off with tooling. They won't get any track.
And that was back 98, 99?
This would have been, around about 98.
So took the train to Margate and everything was there, the factory, the offices.
Yep, everything was there. All the tooling being run from there, everything. Cool. It was at the end of that. And so I said, they just don't know what they're doing. They need to be in shops that have tracks. They need to expose the hobby. And their one strategy to expose the hobby was, if you bought X amount of product, they would give you a track to set up. So people would get the track and then they would sell it. There was no one at tracks. This time there was nothing seen. So I went to England and I said to the board, sat down in front of the board, and I said to them, you got to give him another chance. I'm doing shows for him. I'm helping him build a dealer network, etc., etc. And they said, we're not interested. We've given up, but we are interested in you. I'm like, okay, fair enough. I mean, I wasn't stabbing them in the back, but they'd already done.
So 97, 98, 99 was when you finally met again Margate Hornby, and you decided to come back here with this ScaleRacing USA brand.
Yeah.
So in my head, this was you working as a representative here to Hornby. But what you're telling me is that Hornby hired you to put the brand here.
Well, originally I was doing some distribution through Irwin Toys.
Okay.
Then when they dried up, they couldn't get stock. I contacted Margate and said, I need stock. And so they shipped to me. And
that's cars, sets, parts, everything.
Yeah, everything. And then when Irwin was done, they pretty much made me an agent. And so I bought some stock. And then the agreement was I would look for a couple of other distributors to help grow the hobby again. And so I used Trost, who are gone now, I think, and Stevens out of New Jersey. So one in Chicago, one in New Jersey, and me. And so I would do all the marketing and shows and etc. And we would all have inventory, and they would theoretically ship to their region. So you had New Jersey down the East Coast, you had Chicago, the middle of the country, and me on the West Coast. But it didn't really work that way. I did all the work, and they would sell wherever they could sell. So we decided...
A problem that we still see today.
Anytime you think America is big enough, any manufacturers ever watch this, if you think America's big enough to absorb 3 or 4 distributors, all it does is cause a price war.
Even two.
It won't grow the hobby. You need one distributor, and you need them to do their job. And if they don't, and if you've given them enough margin to do it, they will, or can. And if they don't, get rid of them. But no, we've got into another subject altogether. Let's go back.
That was the conversation before they came over.
Shady,
right?
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Well, we'll do that another day. No, so eventually it got to the point where they just weren't carrying their weight.
And when they decided to open an office here?
Well,
because you were involved on that too, right?
Yeah. I say, I made a proposal to the board in England in November of 1999. And the proposal was we need to get rid of the other distributors and just go with one distributor. And my company's perfectly capable of doing that. And we really need it to be under the ScaleRacing name. This adds credibility to it. We've grown a little bit the identity of the ScaleRacing brand, whereas with Irwin Toys it was Super Scale by ScaleRacing, which they were doing all their own packaging and everything. So we'll buy the English sets. We'll set up in Tacoma an affordable port from China. By this time, ScaleRacing had moved all their production to China.
Okay.
And this was right around the cusp of
2003, maybe.
No, it was on the cusp of 2000.
Okay.
I think they finally moved most of the tooling end of 99, early 2000.
It's pretty cool to know that you saw that building.
Oh, I saw it when it was fully operational.
Yeah.
But the trouble was, and it's sad, and I think most of the people there knew it was sad, but they had a choice.
Yeah.
You either move to China, and they were the last ones to do it. Either move to China or close.
Close down, yeah.
And so they moved to China and went from 400 people to 40. And they're probably less than that now. But and it made them viable, and for a while, very profitable, because much lower labor costs and the quality of some of these Chinese factories. Sandokan was one of the ones which had gone, tragically. But they were making beautiful scale model trains, so making slot cars was easy. And we saw the ramp up of slot car quality. Fly created that, or ignited that, but coming out with the Viper, and everybody else had to follow. So I met with the board and said, I can be the distributor. And they're publicly traded, so they had to run it by all their shareholders, etc. I don't think it's too long ago to be breaking any confidentiality here. So I said, well, either make me an exclusive, and I can grow the market because I can finance it, I can fund it. But no one will give me funding if you've got 3 distributors. Because if I do well, but they've got more money, you'll just jump to the next one. Where's the incentive? So I said, either give me an exclusive and I can get financing from the bank, my numbers are good enough, etc., or buy my company. And they said, well, they weren't interested in exclusive, and they'd actually talked to another distributor who they were thinking about going with. And I'm like, so what happens then? Oh, we want you to work for us. You work in their business, but you would be employed by ScaleRacing, and you'd be anyway. So I'd oversee the brand in America, but they were bigger than me, which they were, and they had more financing than me, which they did, and a bigger distribution network than me. Not in slot cars, in another hobby similar.
Yeah, but even though, and opportunity to grow the hobby if they have this.
And I said, well, so what do I do with all the people that I've employed? I've gone from $16,000 the first year to 3.4 million that year. And I had about 15 people working for me. What do I do with them? They're like, well, just get rid of them. It's business. Just get rid of them and come work for us. And I said, no, I won't do that. I mean, I can't do that to my people. They've worked for low wages, for long hours, because they believed in what we were doing. And we finally got to a point where it's starting to be a little bit successful. Yeah. And now you tell me you're going to go somewhere else. So I said, okay, then buy my company, which they did, which sounds glamorous. It wasn't anywhere near as glamorous as it sounds. But anyway, but it did create ScaleRacing USA. And I ran that for 2 more years as chief operating officer. And then I moved on to doing consulting for them. I'm not a corporate animal. I like going out and doing shows and pressing the flesh. I want to meet people and talk to them and nurture this hobby. Doing spreadsheets and flowcharts, they weren't getting their money's worth, making me do that. I don't even know how Excel works, So not the right guy. But to know about racing and be at the Indy 500 and getting 50,000 people through a booth, and that's marketing, a cheap marketing in America. And let's face it, we're then and now still, we're the best unknown form of motor racing in America. The cheapest form of motorsport in America. Way cheaper than radio control, which is better known than us. I mean, harder to break than radio control. You can break them in a second. And it's fun. It's educational. Well, you guys know. This is a game, a toy, a hobby. It's real racing in miniature. And it's a collectible. And it's all those things. And modern parents, I'm glad to see, do appreciate the fact that this is a hands-on hobby, that your kids and you are going to learn about gear ratios, how to paint a car, how to fix, et cetera, et cetera. And I think there's potential for that again. There was a time when parents just wanted their kids to do video games, etc. I think now they're starting to see new young parents that have grown up with computers all the time and now seeing their kids, they don't want them sat in front of a screen all the time. And we have something to offer. But like back in 2000, we need to market it. We need to get it out there. Yeah. And but anyway, that's a bit of my story, a little bit. But so after leaving ScaleRacing, then I started, what am I now? 132 Slotcar. Yeah.
That's 2006-07, right?
2003 officially, but I didn't do anything with it while I was under contract to ScaleRacing. I did consulting for them and I did shows for them. I do photo shoots for them, fly all over the country, turn up at racetracks to take pictures of cars from Trans Am and the Viper. I shot the first Viper pictures and things like that. The Corvettes, the Owens Corning ones, the white and red. They did a convertible.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I shot those.
L88.
Yeah, fun. Yeah, L88, yeah. It's fun doing that. I did Daytona for them and things like that. And we need exposure in the real motorsport industry. We do need that. It's fantastic.
How was your feeling after you left Hornby and you see other brands like NSR, Slotted coming up with a much modern platform?
Well, I mean, I think even ScaleRacing had to up the ante. With the Cadillac was their first one where they tried to replicate some of Fly's look. But then you had, say, Slotted, which actually we were the importer for as ScaleRacing USA. And I was even before ScaleRacing got involved. They first came out with their Audi, which was a good car. It suffered because people were used to a ScaleRacing car, which had a self-setting gear mesh. And plastic gears, so quiet. The Audi was quite noisy, but it was a good base for a racer. It had adjustable features and things that no ScaleRacing or Carrera car has. So it did pique the interest of people that were involved in racing toy cars rather than just collecting them or playing with them on the carpet with their kids. The second Slotted car was the Porsche, the Canon and the Kenwood cars. And I shot a bunch of pictures for Slotted at Rennsport Reunion in Daytona. I mean, there were, I'm probably exaggerating to say hundreds, there was at least 40 or 50 different variations of 956s and 62s there. I mean, long tails, short tails, high tails. So I just photographed every single one I could. Maurizio got those pictures. And you see the list to this day how many 956s and 62s there are. And then the re-liveries of them as well. There's cars that are raced in one livery and then raced in a completely different livery.
Yeah.
But that was the birth for Slot It into a racing category, which I think is healthy for the industry. Have a category from a manufacturer.
It's probably the most successful. It's the most successful class.
Oh yeah,
Group C.
They're good fun running cars. They don't require a lot of work.
They keep doing it. They keep finding more liveries.
Oh yeah.
It's unbelievable.
Well, there were some where they ran with different colours on the front and back. Fly did some of that because they crashed and they put a team's bodywork on the back of a 962. So you can make that one.
There is a Ferrari from Racer Sideways. 512 BB, whatever they call it, which has the full bodywork green and the front is red because they pick up from another team. They have like the little tapes in the tail over there. It's pretty cool.
Well, it's fun, but the nice thing to see with Slot It was this was now a serious racing brand. Before that, Fly, they were fun to race, but because they had a strong magnet. It wasn't really about a handling chassis. And I would tell people, then they say, oh, Fly cars handle and ScaleRacing cars don't. I said, no, Fly cars have a big magnet. It's called handling in a can, basically.
What do you think about Hornby right now? What is your vision after being the CEO of that brand here in America? What is happening and why they decided to keep basically the same design of 25 years ago and didn't update anything?
You mean in the cars?
In the car itself. Yeah.
I think they see themselves, certainly in England, as more of a toy company than a hobby company, if that makes sense. But the definition between toys and hobbies between England and here, how do I explain it? I think people here think hobbies should be product that you can get replacement parts for, and it's something that you break something, you replace it. Whereas a toy, and certainly even myself as a child in England, if you broke part of a ScaleRacing car, you just bought another car. And so they don't see very many spares, whereas in America, I think it's more a spares-driven market or a repair-driven market.
And even alterations and updates.
Yeah, but they've stayed with a basic design. And I don't necessarily think that's wrong. I mean, because you've got the boutique brands like Slot It,
Scaleauto,
NSR,
Avant-Slot.
Yeah, so many. And they are more complicated, more complex, and more aimed towards the adult market. But ScaleRacing now, I'm not sure. Obviously, I have a soft spot in my heart for ScaleRacing. I mean, for various reasons. A, I grew up with it. B, I ran the company for a while, which I'm proud to have done. I never dreamed that I'd do that when I was a child, that I would be the chief operating officer of ScaleRacing in America and I'd start their American division. I would have said, yeah, it's never going to happen. But it did. And I'm proud of that. I think, I hate to say this, I think we've all failed because it should have gone on from there and become bigger. And it hasn't. And I think part of that is the size of this country and what it takes to market to a country as big as America. And that comes down to also not understanding for it. And it's not just in toy cars, it's in many things. European manufacturers have failed to understand the American market and the American psyche. You saw it in motorcycles, you saw it in cars. I mean, and you've seen it in toys. I mean, American consumers have a completely different mindset to European consumers. I mean, if you sell a guy in Europe, and yes, England is part of Europe despite Brexit. I don't know how that ever happened. But if you sell somebody in Europe a toy and it has screws to adjust the axle height, it has adjustable gears, they're going to adjust them. And they're going to understand that you take it out of the box and you do that. Just like you would a real race car. You wouldn't take it from the showroom floor and take it out on the racetrack. You'd take it apart, make it right,
tires,
do it,
suspension,
and then put it back together because you're at risk. Well, obviously we're not at risk with toy cars, but we want to have the best toy car we can. And so these brands coming up with adjustability, I think ScaleRacing, they just don't see themselves in that market. They've tried it a few times And
they have some sort of a pro system.
they had. I was a little bit involved in that.
The NASCAR with 3 different motors and gears.
And then they tried with Slotted. They tried with the
PCR chassis. Yeah.
But the problem there is, you take a ScaleRacing car, which let's say it was $50 at the time. You take a $10 chassis, these retail prices, and then you take all the slotted component parts to convert it.
You go there and buy a slotted car.
Yeah. Well, in fact. And we weren't doing any special price, but we were selling a slotted car and a PCR chassis and a ScaleRacing car. It was cheaper than buying all the parts to do it. So you end up with 1.5 cars. But still, the problem is it wasn't going to beat a slotted car because the body was heavier. And so it was a good idea, but it failed because of price, and it would only really work. It would have worked well probably on the Trans Am cars, because no one else has really made a Trans Am car
with all those
real adjustable features.
Besides Thunder Slot a couple of years ago, but they never continued that.
Yeah, but I mean, doing GT3 Porsches when everybody else is doing them, Scale Auto, even Revo Slot, which they saw a different strategy in the market, more complicated or more sophisticated than ScaleRacing and Carrera, but not as complicated and involved as Slotted or the other.
But
really
with the difference with the metal chassis, right? The metal chassis.
Metal chassis meant lower center of gravity.
But before we go there, when did you start it with the Revo Slot BRM? Because BRM you were the representative here way before Revo came along, right?
BRM started about 2007.
So right after you left Hornby and you have the
I was at Nuremberg and I was walking by stands. I'd go around the whole show and take pictures for my forum that I still own, but I used to run when I had time. I take pictures for all the cars that are coming out that year. And I walked past the booth and I saw 962s. And so I said to the guy, "They're Slotcars. Who makes them?" And he said, "It's an Italian company, BRM." He was an Italian die-cast seller. He just had them there as a favor. I said, "I need to talk to the guy." So I got in touch with them and I started doing BRM. And they're kind of like a ScaleRacing car initially. They didn't really have any adjustment. And they'd originally been racing Tamiya bodies and had their own little group, a little company in Badia Porcini in Italy, but passion. And they made and still make component parts for the 143rd die-cast industry.
Yes, tires,
headlight bezels, steering wheels, and they make everything from tractor tires that are huge down to little 143rd is the big one, because all the 143rd die-casts. So that was their niche, but they were all racers. So they started racing Tamiya, which they made their own chassis for.
Actually, I have one right there. You see that little Maserati?
What's that?
On the bottom is one of the tires that.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Made over there.
Yeah. So they started very simple, and I started that line.
And at that time it was plastic chassis, right? Like very simple.
Very plastic chassis, no adjustment. I don't even think the front axle was. No, it wasn't. It wasn't adjustable on the first ones. Just set the gear mesh, and people struggled with that. But set the gear mesh and race. But they were fun and they were reasonably detailed and they're big. I like 124th, even though my company name was 132 Slot Car. I do like the big cars, but it's always going to be a bigger market for 132nd scale than 124th scale. By the fact that for people that have tracks at home or clubs, the smaller track system is easier to find, space for. But that's where tracks like Ninko, when they existed, and now Polycar score, because you can run most 124th cars on Polycar track. Yeah. Certainly all the BRMs and Scale Autos you can. It's close, but real racing's close.
Yeah, we still have the option for Scale Auto, which is a little wider.
Yeah, that's
track.
wider, yeah.
In Carrera is wider,
Yeah, I've always found from sales I've done at retail and wholesale, people like the idea of Carrera track, and obviously Scale Auto is basically the same or similar, but it's finding the room. Yeah. And I think even in this country where we do have a lot more room, why HO was so big was because you could build a 300-foot track on a door. You didn't need a lot of room. And to dedicate the second stall of a two-car garage, which a lot of people end up doing in 132nd scale, on 8x16 table, you can get a pretty interesting track. On an 8x16 table with the bigger track systems, you struggle.
Yeah.
Ninko and Polycar, you still can pretty much do it. When it gets to Scale and Carrera,
Gets a little bit more
you're driven to it's more going to be club guys. But I mean, all right, 2-lane, no. But, people in this country, as you know, well, I want to do 4-lane and I want long straights. I mean, this is American. I don't want a little 2-lane track.
Banked curve.
Exactly. Well, yeah, they asked for the bank curve. Yeah. Just slow down at the end of the straight. You'll get the hang of it. But no, I know. Yeah, that was always the one we struggled with when I was running ScaleRacing. Where's your bank curve? And with a poly track, you can't do it.
Yeah.
I don't know whether Polycar will ever do it because their track is hard.
Well, the Polycar can still work.
Well,
you can get out a little bit.
Yeah, you can. You can camber it.
But even though here, when we have this with 2 bridges and we have some elevations, at the end, the connection is not perfect.
Mm-hmm.
We tried on flat and work. When you build the bed for it, it missed a little bit of the angle.
Yeah. No, it's difficult with hard plastic, or even polyplastic tracks, which will flex more, but you've got to keep those connections. And
let me show you something. In 2 weeks, we're gonna be racing this.
Ah, good.
Look at that.
There you go.
Those belongs to Stephen Far Jones from the Far Out Club.
Okay, yeah.
And they're going to be racing a team race here on an 8-lane track.
Oh, great.
Using those. Well, I need to tell you, the TTS car is much faster. The Alpine. The Alpine one
That's faster?
That's faster. Don't know how. This is the fastest car.
It may not be stock then. I mean, I import both, and it's the motor. Now, has that got?
Yeah, probably there is a different motor on it.
Now, this is a beautiful little car.
Yeah, they are. All of them. Even the Mini is so fun to drive.
Yeah, there isn't. We run. This is another thing. Standardization. Everybody's got different rules, right? We run these and the BRM stock. So we're true front tires. We run the stock hard rubber rear tires.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, so as we don't. I mean, we take a car that's $150, $160, and you start throwing $20 in tires, another this, another motor.
Yeah,
you end up with a $250 car. And the beauty of these from BRM and TTS, which this one is that they will run on 1/32 scale track, which is nice, even ScaleRacing.
Yeah.
And B, they are simple. They're like a giant Revo slot car. Although actually, what came first was the Trans Am cars, which we designed with BRM, and then the Trans Am chassis was shrunk down to make Revo slot. And this is very similar to a Trans Am chassis, which is another one that we co-own the tooling. I invested in tooling with BRM to try and help grow the American market, so American cars or cars that have more of an identity in America.
Yeah.
Which we also struggled with back in the day when I was with ScaleRacing till we brought Trans Ams out.
Bring the Datsun is a big thing. That's a big car here.
Yeah.
We have John Morton. John Morton's our neighbor. He comes here all the time.
Yeah,
John Morton's here. What? So you go there around.
Yeah, no, it's a great car, and we'll race one of these.
From that class, the Alpha I think was the first one, right?
Yeah,
the very first one. This is beautiful.
Yeah, the Alphas are really good.
And then after we got the BMW out, right? Was
Escort probably before BMW.
Escort.
You can tell by the stock numbers.
Is that the Escort?
That could be a TTS one as well, because TTS and BRM share tooling. Yeah, this is TTS.
TTS.
Now all the later Escorts are all BRM tooling.
So that's not Escort, that's a Cadet, right?
That's Opel Cadet, yeah.
Yeah, those are the Cadets.
Yeah. But the TTS and the BRM cars they were identical. They were just packaged or branded under TTS for some of the production.
So can you explain me a little bit better what is a TTS? Is a separate brand from BRM that uses the same BRM?
Originally TTS was a partner with BRM, as I am with the Trans Am cars and the 240Zs. But not to get into...
don't need to.
There was a change of policy or strategy between the two companies, and TTS went off during the Escort production and decided that they wanted to make their own cars. which the Alpines won, and but BRM, I believe. I hope I'm not talking out of school here, but I believe they shared tooling like I do with the Trans Am and the 240Z and the GT40 as well. Is my tooling with BRM. But I think there was a change of philosophy between the two people or two groups, and TTS decided to make their own cars, and BRM still make component parts for them.
Still have some software. Yeah. So the new Alpine TTS. Nothing to do with BRM?
No.
All right.
In fact, there's some BRM parts on that, but
yes.
a bit like RevoSlot, people get confused with RevoSlot that it's BRM. It's not. It's a Chinese company, but they work with BRM. And so they use BRM machine skill tools, machine tool skills, right way around. So for CNC machining, etc., their expertise was more in modeling. And so they can make their beautiful bodies, and they use BRM component parts for most of their cars.
That's a good explanation. I never heard about that.
Yeah. A lot of people think it actually is BRM. It's not, but they are partners.
They're very close.
Really, BRM never wanted to be a 1/32nd scale company. That their mission or their dream was to keep making 1/24th. That's what they believe in, and I do share that passion.
Here's my favorite. And I know that's your favorite too.
Oh, that's my favorite. I have 4 real minis. So
some park inside of the store, as I recall.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that and the little Alpha. The little
Fiat.
Fiat Arbath. That's what I meant. Arbath. Those two are very, very competitive in racing. In fact, the racing I'm going to in 3 days' time in Italy is the Young Timers race. And they race the Group 2s and they race the mini cars. And say Group 2 and mini cars, for anybody that doesn't realise this, even if you're on ScaleRacing or SCX or older Strombecker 3-inch lane spacing tracks, these cars will all run on 3-inch lane spacing. So that's always a struggle for companies like BRM. They say, well, how come we can't sell more cars in America? Most people run 1/32nd scale. Worldwide, most people run 1/32nd scale. The exception to that statement might be, well, no, wait a minute. HO was massive in America, and it was, because you could buy in Toys R Us a whole set for $40. Yeah. And next year you bought another one because you'd already broken that one and thrown it away. Yeah. And it just perpetuated. But other than HO, 1/32nd worldwide is the biggest scale.
I know.
Because you can have it in a very small room.
But those cars, they
I love the big cars.
Yeah, they're big, but they still can run on 1/32nd scale. It's fun to drive because they're heavy. You can see the braking, you can see the turn around, the fishtailings out there. It's kind of cool.
Yeah. No, I just like that visual connection. And,
we're gonna be racing with the Far Out Club. 8 teams of 3 people, so 24 people are gonna be around here on the big track. And Ivan is sponsoring the race with foam tires. Uh-huh. So there you go. So he sent us the foam tires.
There you go.
From his collection, so we can use here on the track that we have glue on it. And those cars, they behave well. So the way that I'm gonna do, they're different. Some are faster than the other ones. So what I'm gonna do is that I'm gonna qualify them all, and we're gonna put the fastest one on the slowest lane, and then we'll go to the slowest one on the fast lane, so people know they are assigned to the lane.
Oh, so the car will stay in
the car stays in lane.
Yeah, I've done that where by putting one person, whether it's me or another guy I know, will give consistent lap times. Yeah, just run them, and we grade the lanes.
There we go. But I'm gonna do this in front of everyone, just like a small qualifying, so people know.
How are you doing the teams?
It's based on Stephen Farr-Jones' point system, so he's gonna try to figure out to be like
one thing I must admit, I know teams and individuals want to run their own race, their own car, etc. Right, I get that, but
the Far Out Club is different.
I know they're great. I mean, they really are. They're amazing. But one method that we used for a while, and I may even go back to for a few events, is we would run qualifying with one car, and everybody would qualify that car, and then we would group the fast guy with the slowest guy, the second with the second.
Well, there'd be a lot of sandbagging on that one.
Well, yeah, but we go on history of, well, wait a minute, you know to drive. Plus, we give points for qualifying. Okay. So if you're going to throw away points for qualifying,
and you have to have a very close group because people needs to get along.
Yeah, well, yeah.
We had a Christmas enduro here where there was this whole race, and then the 6 best teams will go for a final.
Right.
But they need to draft someone from the teams that left. So we grade the racers by individual laps. So we have a ranking of the best of the best of the rest, and the teams could find. So the sixth place could get the fastest driver. So we're going to be mixed, and the sixth.
Right.
So as soon as starting doing this, lobbying started going wrong. Oh, I don't want to race this. Just say no. They're going to invite you. Say no, and you're going to be my third pick.
Yeah.
And whatever. So the whole thing started, and I was homesick with COVID. And then in sense, I was here trying to organize the thing. And then it's literally collapsed. At some point, he gave up. We have to almost, he literally passed out. Like, it was just too much.
Unfortunately, I think to run successful race programs, you have to be a dictator.
Sometimes, yes.
I mean, look at Bernie. You did an amazing job. I don't particularly like the guy, but he made Formula One what it is today. And by it's my way or the highway. Yeah. And if you allow the racers to run the race, you have what kart became. Which they're always looking out for their best interest, not the best interest of the overall. Right. I mean, if the Yankees ran baseball, they'd have all the best players, and they'd win every time, and then the league would collapse. Yeah, so you need parity. So that first and last one worked fairly well, because usually the last place guy was a new racer, and he would improve during the race. And where we found the sweet spot was fifth and sixth, or the guys right around there that ended up being paired together. They're not the fastest, but it's an endurance race. They stay on, and they've at least grasped the concept of it. They've got the fast guy with the slow guy. I mean, the slow guy kept crashing, and the fast guy's like, and we make sure that you got equal time, because otherwise it's just going to fast guy will run, 7 heats, and you put him in for one.
Half a second. So what did you haven't covered yet? I think now I have very clear what was your career doing the Slotcar, especially that year 96, 97, 98, when we started to get involved, and when we got Hornby back here, and then when we got involved with Hornby officially as a CEO, and then later on when you got BRM involved, when you saw in Nuremberg their cars, and of course that has been almost 18 years of relationship.
2007.
Yeah, David was like 15 at the time. Probably, right?
As time flies. It's been a wild,
Yeah.
But
and then with the Scale Race Center, did I say correct? Yeah, right? Scale Race Center, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, ScaleRacing Center, yeah.
You have those two beautiful tracks over there that I have the chance to visit back in 2021, just before COVID.
Yeah.
And those tracks, they came from Spain, right?
Yeah, they're Concept Vario tracks, which Concept Vario were a division or part of Scale Auto.
Okay.
And I think those two tracks were tracks that had been used for events, and they wanted to change it up and build a new track, so we brought those over here. The flat tracks.
They're beautiful.
No glue.
Yeah. And
heavily rubbered in, but no glue.
And the texture on that, and it's just like the ones that we have at the E-Car Club.
Right.
Have you been there? The E-Car Slot Club in close to Even, close to Creek Crack.
Oh yes, very similar.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, and because we do one big tournament a year, which is a 24-hour, and then we do weekly races. And
by the way, we're invited to go there.
Absolutely,
we were invited to race the 24-hour.
Let's go.
I've been to a couple. It's just a nightmare, horrible. I don't suggest.
No, I think this is the one thing, going back to competition and that. When I race motorbikes, I raced all up and down the coast, including into Canada, and I raced out across Vegas, and then I went to Atlanta. So covered, a good chunk of the country, and it's sometimes hard to get racers to step outside of their comfort zone. But I wanted to test myself, and I knew I wouldn't win when I went up to Seattle or went to Portland or British Columbia, where they had a great track. But I wanted to improve my skill, and the way to do that is pushing yourself, going outside your comfort zone. I know in this young timers race I'm going to with my son. My son will be the top one of our team. He's young and quick reactions.
The son that you dragged to Oasis concert here only?
Yeah.
Okay, that one, all right.
He couldn't go to the young timers unless he went to Oasis. No, it's not that. That's not true. But when you see young kids get into this, it's fantastic, and why I think a lot of older people don't want it.
It's a little bit,
Turn it round.
Pointing to there you go.
Okay, sorry. I think why a lot of older racers don't really want young people involved is because they're going to beat you, because they will. They have better reaction time, and they've probably been playing video games where there's a lot of dexterity involved there. I mean, here in Slotcars, we struggle to throttle and brake. Now, there's lots of little stories I could say. I do remember a 12-year-old, one of Maurizio's Slotted races, using the Slotted controller, which has a lot of different settings. And he 12 years, came from RC racing. He would hold the controller sideways in his hand, and he would adjust all the knobs while he's racing for every corner, brake for each corner. And
Jesus,
I can't even adjust one knob.
It's a Formula One level thing.
It was unbelievable. Yeah, well, the Formula One guy, all those buttons and that. I want a gear shift, a clutch pedal, and but that's old school. But no, it was amazing to see. So yeah, young people are the future of this hobby, but to us old people, they're also a threat. But no, we need to embrace it. We need to get it out there to children. And people often say to me, "What's the age limit?" I say 4 to 94. But if you're 95, you can still do it. Just don't get too excited. But I've had 4-year-olds who are amazing on my store. I'm sure you see it here. Yeah. And give them a few years of nurture, and that's the future. We're not the future.
What I have in. We were speaking about the age of stuff back in the 60s, and when people was very easy to get and have at home. And I believe that today here, when I have the store open, we have those people walking back with this nostalgic feeling. Oh, I used to have this in the 60s and the 70s. My father used to have a track. Used to have a raceway there. And then you have this big window of people who were born between the 19s and the 2010s or whatever, that never had and will never have this nostalgic feeling of seeing my slot car going around the track. And in 30, 40 years, those guys will be looking for a hobby because their kids are grown, they have grandsons, whatever, and they don't have it anymore. They don't have the memory.
Right.
So we lost, and it was very bad for us to lose that big window of like 20, 25, 30 years of people who will never going to have that nostalgic feeling.
Right. Well, that's a good point. I think another part of how the industry damaged itself.
Carlos is almost done here. Okay, he's still alive. All right, good.
Yeah, I think one thing that damaged the hobby, the sport, was, to me anyway, why my company is called ScaleRacing, my parent company. I like scale racing cars because I would like to be racing real cars, but I also have a family to go home to and a bank balance that wouldn't appreciate it. But so I like the detail of the scale cars. They are model cars that you race. And even in our end of the hobby, you get people that want to take them and take them to a whole nother level, which means more expense. And as much as I'm an engineer originally by trade, and then a tool maker, and then motorcycle mechanic and racer. So I've done my fair share of creating and adapting, but I do find the strength is if we can keep things fairly simple. And I think that, going back to success stories, that's why RevoSlot have been so successful in 1/32nd scale, is because there really isn't much to adjust. There's some, so you feel you are connected. You have something you can do. Yeah. And I think that's why people
improve.
Yeah. People move away from ScaleRacing and Carrera because there really isn't much you can do. That's it. What you see is what you get. There is no adjustment. But with the RevoSlot, there's a little bit of adjustment, but also what it makes is a fairly close field. And I think that's important.
That's true.
The other thing I think we've struggled as an industry, and right from when I first got involved with it here, standardization and rules and structure. And we don't have that. Raw, the RC guys, they do. The model train industry, they do. They're very organized. We don't even have the same controller hookups or connections from one track to another. Polarity will be different. And then how we run races. I'm not saying that anybody's system is right or anyone's wrong, but standardization does create more identity. I mean, Monopoly's played the same all over the world. You hide your money under the board. Don't tell anybody. No, that's what I used to do when I was a kid. No, but chess, drafts, soccer, football.
But I think we're walking toward this, like with rules, simpler rules,
and that's important.
Simpler cars like the Revos, or even if you get the one of F1 NSR, which is our next race here, if you standardize the parts and you bring back to everything that is original out of the package with some changes to make them a little bit better,
Right.
and if you start to adopt this worldwide, you're gonna have this class. The one thing that I don't think is that, like if you see Israel, it's a completely elite thing.
Yeah.
Different, but they have their own organization. I work with this, and I don't even know where to start to have a car put together for that kind of race.
Right.
So that's not the way to become popular, but they do have this norm, they have this body regulation body that puts together. I will hate to see a federation or a confederation or a Slotcar association or whatever to try to put together the rules, because usually those associations are made by customers and they don't have the commercial knowledge to see if this thing is available, that thing is available, this guy can ship to us, that guy will be 3 times the price. And we do have many offers. So today, as we were speaking before that, last year we have over 800 new slot cars being released. And with those, we have all the parts to support it. So it becomes just too large. So that's one thing that we are trying to do here, especially with Mauricio and the Slotted Nationals. Now we're going to be running the 15th year in a row. And we finally get into a point that the rules are easier to everybody. And it's very, very standard. And we have the same rules being adopted by the Mexican slotted that's going to happen now in December. And we're going to have the same rules adopted by Australian. So we at least to have a starting,
that's good.
To have a rule book which is simple enough that everybody can join. And of course, we're still dealing with different tracks and stuff, but at least on the competition level, we're trying to bring a norm that is okay to the racers, okay to the providers, okay to the stores. And we can do this together.
I think the way I run our races, we don't try to, except for one class, we don't try to run brands against each other. So, I'll get people to say to me all the time, well, I bought a Revo slot car, but it won't keep up with my NSR. Well, it was never designed to do that. It's a different philosophy. And I have some people that have actually managed to make a Revo slot car go as quick as an NSR.
But this the thing, doesn't need to be quick. It needs to be enjoyable.
Yeah, exactly.
Like the Mini right here is this is not the fastest car on this class, but they're a blast.
Yeah, absolute blast.
Yeah.
No, if you can make that connection that people feel connected.
Yeah.
And I think, well, it's like soccer. It's played outdoor with 11 people. One team doesn't have 15 and the other one only has 9. If we have a bit more standardization as to how we're playing this game, and it is a game, how we're playing with this toy, shock horror is a toy. We could build strength in the hobby, build more identity, and I think it's always very dangerous to put brands against each other, because really nobody wins there.
Yeah.
I mean, you saw this a lot early days with a couple of manufacturers out of Italy, and it's far better if you work together.
Yeah.
Or if you choose one class, you do well, like with Slotted Group C, and then another class, let the other guy do it. They
don't. Our big trio over there, they don't see that way.
Yeah, I know. They don't want to bring out.
And we have other brands also coming along with the same competition, like Avant Slot, Racer Sideways, and those guys are doing the same class, same cars, and they're trying to compete with each other. Yeah. And you're always going to have some favorites here and there.
I think in Europe, because the hobby's been around for so much longer at a sustainable level, not what it was in the 60s, but didn't die out like it did here. I think here to bring it along, we need to keep it affordable. And I think having an identity, and it's certainly great for NSR to get involved, and they're Formula One cars, but to race NSR Formula One cars against Slotted Formula One cars or Polycar against Scale Auto, and they've all got different motors and different guides and different. It gets difficult.
We do have 2 classes here that mix brands, GT3 and Formula One, but for both classes we have to run the same motor. Least. But that also becomes a little more expensive because the guy needs to buy a car and a motor, and then there's a tire from another brand that works better, and then it just gets too complicated.
Well, I think you hit on. If you control by regulation of a class motor, RPM. Or even this motor, because even RPM doesn't mean anything unless they've really been measured, and torque is going to come into play. And a tyre. And one thing I love about Scale Auto sponge tyres is that with their banding, just like Formula One, where you got red tyres, white tyres, etc., you can tell what tyre is on the car.
That's pretty cool.
Because rubber, it's difficult. I mean, what tyre is it?
No, and rubber have many ways to chew it, and someone is going to discover a way that chews it half a second faster than you, and then everybody,
I really like sponge tires as being a control.
Yeah,
handout tires, which a lot of the European races, the race I'm going to will be handout tires. So when you get your car and you go through tech, they'll inspect the car, they'll give you your motor and they'll give you your tires. You put them on there in front of them, and then the next time you see the car is on the track. So they won't even been run in, and you go, well, that would never work. It would be slower. You're right, but it'll be slower for everybody. Yeah. And it actually does work. And it takes some of the voodoo out of it, the secret sauce added to the tires and stuff like this.
Which could be beneficial to some, and other people could get a little bit not happy with it.
Well, it's ironic because usually the people that complain the most are the best racers and the best builders. They would still win. They just wouldn't win by quite as much. Yeah. But I just asked them if any of them are ever watching this, isn't it better for our hobby if the people at the back actually feel like they have a chance rather than knowing full well that they will never be at that level? Yeah. A lot of them step away then instead of getting involved and improving. And I've watched people, I remember when I first opened the ScaleRacing Centre, I had this older gentleman come in. He was probably in his late 70s, early 80s. He just lost his wife. He was looking for something to do. He's a car guy. He did body work and paint and repairs on real cars. And he'd had cars all his life. He'd had slot cars in the 60s and etc. And he got back in and he could barely drive. And the kids, all the young guys are beating him. And then he'd come in and practice and I'd give him some pointers. And within about 3 months, he went from the slowest guy to one of the fastest guys. You don't forget. I say to people, it's like riding a bicycle. The only difference between slot car racing, if you did it when you were younger and you're now older looking to get in, is if you fall off with a slot car, you won't skin your knees. Because on a bicycle, you might know how to ride it. When you fall off, it really hurts. This doesn't hurt.
Yeah.
And it's
what do we say? Here's the best thing about slot cars: they're not inside of it.
Yeah. But one last thing, because sadly I'm here. I was here for Oasis.
I'll let you know I'm glad that you're here. I'm glad that you stopped by. I'll let you know when Oasis is in town again, so you can stop by.
I will be back, I can assure you. But I've got to think about getting to the airport soon. But I would like to close with, we have our 24-hour race.
The best interviewer. Like he goes, I'm here thinking, how can I do it?
Yeah, you use it.
How can I do it? I say, look, I have the Oasis joke. I can play that again. But then he's going to close himself. All right, thank you very much. We take it over.
That's it, all right. No, but from my side, what I like to close with is, our 24-hour race. This will be a 10th anniversary because we missed one because of COVID. So 10th anniversary at our track. And last year we had 14 teams. We know the various things that have gone on this year have affected the hobby. I think we're at about...
And that's the race that you race on both tracks?
Yeah. We
have about 8 lane and a 6 lane, right?
Yeah. Right now I think we have 10 teams. So there's still 4 spots open for teams that want to enter. And just to give you a heads up, this is a race that proves the teams, the strategy and the drivers, not the cars. Everybody gets the same cars. And this year we're doing a little bit different. Usually we supply painted cars and they're assembled, but they're not ready to race. You've got to take it apart, do all the work, but as designed. So we're not looking for people to modify and file a chassis or...
So you hear a Dremel going on.
No Dremels allowed. No engine analyzers. No glue on the tires. So basically, you'll get in a box of spares and a car and a light kit, and you're going to assemble your car. This year, you're going to paint your car as well. So about September the 15th, when I get back from Italy, we'll start handing out 2 white kits to each team this year. Last year and every other year, it's been 1 car we gave in the entry fee. This year, to thank our racers and anybody who wants to get involved now, new racers as well, we've given 2 cars that you're going to build. So that's about $600 worth of value at retail. And the entry fee for the race is $300. So basically...
you're losing money.
You're getting two cars for... and that's for up to 6 people.
6 people.
Oh, yeah.
I have 24 hours.
For 24 hours. And so it starts on Thursday, November the 6th. And each team would have already painted up their white kit, 2 white kits. And then on...
What kind of car are you guys racing? What kind of car it is?
It's Group C this year.
Group C.
Every year it's been a different class. and they've always been prototypes, meaning so you're the first time user of these cars. You're the final test before we put them into the marketplace. Now BRM have done Group C before.
That's why they discount. They're using you. They're using you to test it.
That's it. Yeah, you're our test car dummies. That's right. Now, you're the proof that this works. And if it doesn't work, and we've never had it not work, but if it doesn't, then yeah, we need to know. But it means that there's nobody that's got a lot of inside information on the car.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Which helps.
Yeah.
Everybody's
is it rubber tire or foam tires?
Foam tires.
Foam tires.
You'll get enough.
BRM's
foam tires. Yeah.
How many times per race in 24 hours they need to change tires?
Last year, I think everybody got through with two pair of tire. Okay. This year, with the 2 cars, you're going to race 1 car without lights. That will race for the first 12 hours. And then the second 12 hours, the first hour, the building stays lit. And then after the first hour, for 6 heats, we turn all the lights off. There's no lights on the track at all, no marker lights, anything.
That's good.
It's just by the lights in the car.
Yeah.
And there'll be a little bit of ambient light.
But even though, like in the last NSR race, we could see the car without the lights.
Yeah, yeah. But no, I mean, I think then you're not really running maybe it's 24 hours, but it's not the challenge of darkness. And this is the challenge of darkness. So 12 hours with 1 car, 12 hours with the second car. So most teams will get through on 1 set of tyres. 1 car will have lights in it. There'll be a Concours d'Elegance for the bodies. And BRM and myself will choose which cars win that prize.
Very cool.
We're not giving away loads of product, etc., as prizes, because I've always found that turns it a little bit ugly. We'll show appreciation, and those cars will be pictured on BRM's website and shown across America and shown across Europe to hopefully encourage other people to do these things. So this first year it's been 2 cars, up to 6 people, but apart from 10 o'clock on Thursday getting your chassis, because this year you already have your body, getting your chassis, we'll weigh the bodies and make sure they're all within the spec weight. They cannot be painted on the inside of the bodies, so you can't Dremel out the inside. Interiors won't be fitted until we've inspected them, so you can't Dremel out the roof.
No tricks there too?
Yeah. No, we want parity. We want the best team to win. Yeah. But we want to prove that we're all racing similar cars. They should all go down the straight at the same speed.
And when is the date again?
6th of November is the first day. Thursday, we'll hand out the chassis and people will start building their chassis. 6th of November.
Right.
And it goes from the 6th through the 9th. So I think from 10 o'clock in the morning till 2 in the afternoon on Thursday, you'll start building your chassis and put in the light kit in 1 car. You don't have to declare which car has the light kit in it. Obviously, probably be able to be seen during Concours d'Elegance. But anyway.
And you can design 2 different cars?
Yes. There's 3 cars to choose from. The Porsches, the Sauber Mercedes.
No, I mean go ahead. The Porsches.
The Porsche, the Sauber Mercedes, and the Toyota Group Cs. Oh, okay. There's 2 Porsches, a long tail and a short tail with the wing out the back. Both the Sauber Mercedes have the wing out the back, and so does the Toyota. So you've either got 3 short tail cars with wings out the back, or you can have one, but you can't use both Porsches. You can only use 1 Porsche and 1 other. So,
but I mean, as a team, I got 2 white kids. Can I do two different designs, or it needs to be a team design?
Delivery.
You can do your own livery. It can be a livery of a real car.
But I can have 2. This is the same, or can I have 2 different ones? So
you could have 2 chances. You could have 2 identical.
But I can have 2 chances on the concourse if I have 2 different ones.
Absolutely. There you go. It will be the best car chosen by BRM. The people that do all the artwork for BRM and all the computer design.
And what do I do to register for the race? I go to where?
It's on our website, and if anybody's not sure if they were to write to me, I can supply them with entry form. We're probably not as organised as you guys on all the rules.
We're not, believe me. No, we're not.
But anyway, in the BRM section...
We just sweat and cry here. That's the whole thing here.
In the BRM section, there is actually a 10th anniversary. If you went on the search engine on 132 Slotcar and typed in 10th anniversary, it would come up with the race. $300. But up to 6 people, after that, you do have to pay an extra fee if you want more. You don't need more than 6.
No,
6 is a lot. It's like herding cats.
Yeah, we're gonna lose at least 2 friends in a group of 6 racing 24 hours.
Yeah.
2 people are gonna end it without saying.
But the other thing you get to try and give everybody a good shot at understanding the 2 tracks, which I'll touch on the tracks, and I probably should leave. Apart from that, you get 3 sprint races. So there'll be 2 BRM sprint races and 1 RevoSlot sprint race. Okay. So you get the opportunity to, and then everybody races in those that wants to.
Sprint racing mean like you provide the cars, or you should?
No, you supply your own cars, BRM, right. and it's in the rules.
Everything's on the website. Yeah.
But with RevoSlot, it's group 2, group 2, group 3. So Porsches, no mini cars or
Vipers.
So I say group 2, GT2. No group 2, GT2. Yeah. Sorry, I speak right. Yeah, Vipers would be GT2. Lister Storms would be the
Porsches, the Ferrari. No,
there wouldn't be the 333. Wouldn't be Group 2.
No, the F40.
F40. No, not really.
No,
it's really the F40. Really, we need a GT90s class like we have with BRM, because the F40, the F1 GTR, even the Porsche GT1, they can't compete with the Toyota and the CLK. Those 2 cars are dominant in that class.
That's new.
So it'll be all of the real Group 2s, because the F40 was kind of it didn't really have a place.
Yeah.
You know,
they were not very popular in racing. Yeah.
It's a beautiful car, one of my favorite cars. But no, there wouldn't be F40s. What else wouldn't be included? The McLaren F1 GTR wouldn't be included.
That's my favorite car.
I love that car too. But sadly, its racing history was 1 season, really, 95. And
but that's enough. That's enough.
I know, and they won. You know the factory.
You know that I saw the Bueno Clinic car in the Flash, right?
What's that?
The Bueno Clinic car, the black car.
Oh yeah, Bueno Clinic. Yeah. And that was the one that won, and it wasn't the factory car, right?
No, it was the 6th car that they have.
Yep, I know. It's interesting how that happens.
Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you very much for stopping by, for accepting my invitation. Of course, Oasis will be back in 2026.
Well, it's not that far away from Tacoma to here.
I know.
And
I remember when I visited you, it was in the middle of freaking COVID. I took a plane to go there.
Yeah.
With a mask and a green Kia Soul.
Well, I would love to have Southern California racers and Northern California racers turn up at the 24-hour. Contact me if you want to. And even if you want to come and you don't have a team, we've formed teams before and we're happy to do that. We've got some teams, some of our local guys who would love to have an extra hand.
We'll figure out the way.
Yeah, we would love to see that. And then
that's good for us because it's 1 week before our NSR race here.
Oh, that's good.
The 2025
well,
NSR
as organisers, we need to do that as well. We need to try to not.
My calendar is out in January. January is everything out. We don't change.
My main one is always this week. The November. It's
first weekend of November.
Veterans Day weekend.
So, Alan, thank you again.
Thank you.